serve as senior advisor.
Serving as a prosecutor and then as senior advisor to the president after being in television for over a decade. My God, only in America and only in Donald Trump's America where this country will never be a socialist country. God, that feels good. We're going to make it happen. So for all those people out there that have the Trump derangement syndrome, we've got a cure for them, don't we? 4 more years! And I'll tell you, nobody gets the base going more than Donald Trump Jr. My God. He's like the Braveheart of MAGA Nation or something. I gotta tell you, I'm so proud to crisscross the country with him. He is a fighter all the way. Not just a fighter, but a rumbler, I'd say, just like his daddy. So I love how much he loves the country, how he's fighting and putting it all on the line. This incredible Trump family that goes at it every day despite these people that have tried to take them down with lies, with witch hunts about obstruction and collusion and impeachment because they can't beat Trump in 2020, can they? General of the meme wars. He sure has fun with the left, with the snowflakes, because he knows how to trigger them. So what better way? With this book, November 5th, called Triggered. It is absolutely fantastic. I might have taken a sneak peek or two, if you get my point. But he's fabulous. He fights every single day. And I gotta tell you, he does it with a smile on his face because he's having a good time and the other ones, their heads are exploding. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the true savage of MAGA Nation, Donald Trump Jr.
He didn't lie to. Adam Schiff is basically the Jussie Smollett of Congress on steroids. I've never seen anything so ridiculous. And if a Republican member of Congress tried to get away with this, the media would be all over them. They wouldn't just accept it. You had people, what was it, BuzzFeed today? Well, it doesn't really matter that Adam Schiff lied to us because he's pushing our agenda. He's pushing our narrative. More importantly, Sean, the American people see it. They get it. They see Nancy Pelosi, oh, we'd like to maybe talk about healthcare, maybe USMCA. They haven't done anything in 3 years.
Well, it's great to be here, Dr. Well, thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's great to see all of you guys on the front lines of what we're dealing with. I mean, I see so many familiar faces, so many great social media. Just your presence is awesome. Frankly, I don't want this many of us in a room at one time because the left could literally take over the meme wars in one fell swoop here, okay? Now, the left will never be able to meme, but we can't have all of our best talent in one room, right? As a general of the meme wars, we got to be a little bit more protective of our people. So, now, guys, thank you so much. And that clip, I wasn't expecting it necessarily, but it is so true. And I think the American people get it. They see what Adam Schiff has been doing, not just over the last 2 weeks, but over 3 years. If you look at me, as I would say, arguably the #2 recipient of Democrat bullshit.
Ridiculous.
Over the last 3 years, right? Remember when the DMs from WikiLeaks, right? Remember when they were edited and selectively leaked to CNN? Miraculously during my testimony, and it was a bombshell. We have Don Jr. because when you take a 14 and you get rid of a 1, it becomes a 4, right? So when you delete that 1 in the email, it looks like I got the email on the 4th instead of the 14th, meaning 6 days before rather than 4 days after the rest of the world had it. This is what we've been dealing with. This is the insanity of the left. And the analogy of Adam Schiff being the Jussie Smollett of Congress is actually sort of an understatement in the sense that Jussie Smollett did it once. Schiff's been doing it to us for 3 years, and he gets away with it because people in the media will protect him. I mean, I was probably one of the first people to call out the Jussie thing. And by the way, if it happened, go after him as hard as you possibly can. If that kind of hatred was actually happening as opposed to being manufactured as it seems to be over and over and increasingly so every day, go after him. But I was the first guy, or one of the first people certainly, maybe the first person with a big following, with, you know, one of those people that the left wants to attack and naturally will attack, to go, I don't know. I'm not sure. It just seems sort of weird, right? And I mean, just that was enough. Oh my God! Donald Trump Jr. is spreading conspiracy theories. I said, I wasn't spreading anything. I just asked a question. I've been all over MAGA country. The only problem is, in all my travels through the Rust Belt and MAGA country, I've never actually heard it called that. You know what they call it?
America.
No, they just call it America. It's not rocket science, so it's like, oh, wait a minute. Jussie, in all fairness, you'd have to be pretty stupid to go out in downtown Chicago wearing a Make America Great Again hat. I'd say the chances of being shot and killed in about 15 seconds are substantially higher than running into a really rich actor at Subway at 2 a.m. on the coldest night of the year. I don't know. I was like, I just don't see it. You know what most really rich actors do at 2 a.m.? Seamless. They order online. They're not going to the Subway. They don't wear a noose made out of shoestring twine for 45 minutes after the attack. They probably take that off. I don't know. I just said it. I go, I just don't see too many people roaming the streets of downtown Chicago on the coldest night of the year carrying a bucket of bleach and a noose. On the off chance that maybe some really rich actor will be out prowling the streets. Also, if you're a piece of garbage racist like that, you probably have no idea who Jussie Smollett is, because I have a feeling you're not watching Empire. I don't know. It just doesn't say, oh my God, Donald Trump Jr. is the worst human being in the world. I'm saying, man, what did I do? Instagram, they took down my post. This is hate speech. But unlike most, I got a little bit of the Trump fighting gene. It took us 41 years to realize that we're basically the same person, me and my dad. I was like, no one ever called that, including me or him, until you put us in the corner and try to kill us for 3 years. We'll say, hey, wait a minute. We're a lot more alike than we ever thought. And man, I guess we're suited for this world because it is vicious. So I said, Instagram, you know, if this is so hateful, why aren't we allowed to ask that question? Oh, it's a mistake. I go, wow, that's weird. Why is it that the mistakes only go one way?
You cannot name a single leftist who's ever complained about being deplatformed, about being subdued, about being locked out of their account. But it's interesting, because I love my followers, and there are many of you in the room. Like, I actually interact with a lot of you. That's how I've met Ricky, how we sort of met. Because it means something to me. Those followers mean something to me, and it was incredible. So I'll actually read even my DMs from people I'm not necessarily following, and it was amazing. The second I called this out, hey Don, this happened to me, and here's a video of me liking your tweet, or liking your post, or liking your dad's post. And I don't mean a controversial political post. Just anything. And you see it. Little heart goes on and clicks off. Little heart goes on and clicks off. Kimberly, Don, I had to follow you 6 times last week. I go, baby, are you seeing someone else? Princess, thank you for the great intro, by the way. But, my own girlfriend has to follow me every week because, unless she's lying to me, which is a distinct possibility, very distinct possibility, but unless she's lying to me, she's not unfollowing me on purpose. They are doing it for her to suppress us. Right? Last week, you may have seen me do it. Instagram. I typed in my handle, like my full handle, Donald J. Trump Jr.
You didn't come up.
I came up on page 6. I got 2 million followers, and by the way, I share the name of the President of the United States with 14-something million followers, and he didn't show up either. Hey, Instagram. Oh yeah, it's an error. Bullshit. It's not an error. There were accounts with machinations of my name, like Donald Trump Jr. 64724_1976, with 3 followers that showed up before me in the search engine, okay? That doesn't happen on the other side. But think about it, guys. If they can do that to me, if they can do that to the President of the United States, who can they, and more importantly, who aren't they doing it to? They're not doing it to the left. And you can see it. It's a trial run for 2020. What can we do to minimize the message? Because Donald Trump has figured out how to go directly to his people. He's figured out how to avoid the incredibly biased filter of the leftist, left-wing media and bring it right to the people. He's been playing monkey in the middle for 3 years. That's why when people, hey Don, have you ever thought about maybe getting him to slow it? No, I've never thought about it. No, never came to my mind. During the campaign, this was one of the most incredible. I'm like, hey, in politics it's funny. Everyone's got this is the way to win. I'm like, this is not a top 10,000 issue for anyone but you. But for him, it's a number 1, so you listen. But, yeah, we've never thought about that, but it works because he's able to bring that message directly to the people. He's able to overcome that bias and that hate. It's why we do some of the stuff we do. Kimberly and I, we spoke last night at the University of Florida on a college campus. Just like my father said in 2016, he's got to be the president for all people. We got to go speak to all people, even if many of them are really unreasonable. Charlie Kirk showed up. He was there with us. Charlie's been awesome. And Charlie Kirk, he goes out. It doesn't help because he's sitting there poking the bear. I'm like, come on, Charlie, get on it. He goes, that was the craziest crap I've ever seen. I go, Charlie, all you see is the crazy stuff. What are you talking about? He goes, that was the worst I've ever seen. I go, that's wonderful. This is going to be great. So Kimberly did an incredible job. He gets up there, introduces me. And there was a young lady in the crowd. I was like, I didn't actually know whether to be disappointed or impressed. Because for 45 minutes straight, she just went, ah! No, she didn't come up for air. something, but I'm sitting there like, wow. Like, I sort of want to give her a job. Because you know she's majoring in, like, underwater basket weaving feminist studies. Something where I promise you, the $300,000 she's spending on college will not be able to pay it back. I can promise you that. If we could channel that energy, though, it'd be pretty amazing. But that's the reality. We will get out there. We will get out there and fight. And it's great to be able to do that with Kimberly. I always joke with Kimberly. She talks about, being the daughter of immigrants. Her father from Ireland, her mother from Puerto Rico. I say, baby, we're in politics. No one cares about Ireland. No, just sit down. I go, baby, in politics, you are 100% Puerto Rican, okay? So I said, Kimberly, because she keeps saying about her father, I go, it doesn't matter, she won't listen to me. I go, Princess, if Elizabeth Warren can be Native American, being 1,024th, maybe 1,000, because we weren't sure, it said maybe. You can be 100, you can be like 12,000% Puerto Rican based on that. Yeah. So I say, that's true. She's also 6.1% Native American. So I say she's my Puerto Rican woman. By the way, that makes her about 15,000 times more Native American than Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren. Oh, boy. Think about what was going on in that room. First of all, think about how weak a person is to be trolled into getting a DNA test. Like me, I put out a bet on Twitter, I go, $10,000 to the Native American charity of your choice that my girlfriend is more Native American than you, Elizabeth. Great, gets to be expected. My father had a little bit more efficacy. He pushed it a little harder. She did it. But more importantly, think about the judgment. Think about the brain trust that was going on when they got back the report that said, maybe 1,024th. Holy shit, that's a win. I mean, this is not someone I'd like negotiate to buy a cheeseburger at Trump Doral. We're going to give this moron the nuclear football? I mean, think about it. They thought, let's see, if your ancestral lineage was about a few times the size of this room, maybe that guy in the back may have been a little bit Native American. They're like, this is a win. But it shows you the extreme lack of judgment. And more importantly, if it wasn't lack of judgment, it was a knowledge that no one in the media would hold you to account for the lies that got you tenure, that got you jobs, that you based senatorial and other governmental campaigns on. Your entire life is a fraud, and you got there likely by displacing someone who could have probably actually used that help. Crickets! Still, it's almost amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Because you know what, guys? On paper, 2020 should be over by now. 2020 should be over. But it's not, because we're not in a fair fight. Whether it's that our message is subdued, whether it's that the media runs everything through their filter, and frankly, when you've made a conscious decision to be the marketing wing of the opposing party, when the mainstream media has made that conscious decision, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. So that's why we need all of you out there in this fight, right? When you look at the results, all-time low unemployment for African Americans. All-time low unemployment. Women. Highest level of new entrepreneurship for women and African Americans, and I believe Hispanics as well. Thank you, Princess. Thank you. I appreciate you giving me my stuff. I've never done this before, but okay. Kimberly wanted me to point out 1,800 new businesses started a day under women in the Trump economy. But more importantly, in the statistic that I never see anywhere else, 6.3 million people off of food stamps. Because those are people that the Democrats are really scared of. Because those are Americans actually getting to live their American dream. The American dream has been our only export for the last 50 years. We've been sending it to countries that hate our guts. They hate our freedoms. They hate our religion. They hate our values. They hate everything about us. And we've been sending it to them by stupid politicians that you wouldn't let sign a car lease. But they're making trillion-dollar decisions that you're going to live with, your kids are going to live with, and your grandchildren are going to live with forever. Now, for the first time in modern history, possibly since George Washington, you have a businessman actually running the world's largest economy like a business. And if you want to hear the other side, we welcome that, because trust me, they have no ideas that are unique, new, or even remotely intelligent. If you make the mistake of chanting that there, just be careful, because I cannot guarantee your safety. So you do. You have a businessman running the world's largest economy like a business, and the results speak for themselves. It's why you don't hear about the economy during the Dem debates. They don't want to talk about, oh yeah, 6.3 million people. That's about 2% of the population removed off the food stamp roster. Those people are able to fend for themselves. The other party, all they have is dependence. They need you to be dependent on them because they offer nothing else. That's why big government has failed. And I have a book coming out in early November, November 5th. It's called Triggered. You can pre-order now. I want to bring it to number one. Not so much because I care about being number one, but it will actually drive them crazy. It will trigger them, so to speak. Frankly, the only thing better than being number one would not be number one? Because they're screwing you, which you know they will try to do to me. Because it gives me something to complain about for the next 14 months. Either way, I win. But one of the topics I sort of talk about that is this sort of growing trend towards socialism and communism. It's so cool. It's great. I have a little bit of experience about this, and I wrote about it more extensively in the book, but my mother escaped communism. She did that. My grandfather, who was a blue-collar electrician in what was then communist Czechoslovakia, at a young age, he spoke with my father, and he saw what was going on. He said, listen, it's incredible. You're very blessed to be able to have this. The boy's got to see the other side. I spoke Czech at a very young age. He brought me over there, starting at about the age of 5 or 6 years old. I spent 4 to 6 weeks there every summer. I've waited in those bread lines. I've done it. Right? This is an old school. This is my grandfather, right? This is the old school Eastern European guy. He wasn't going to get stuff for me. I was going to get stuff for him. So I've waited in those lines. I've seen what that system does to good, smart, hard-working people where there's really no incentive to go above and beyond. Not even a little bit. One of the first and earliest sort of memories, because I was actually scared, was the first time I went over there. It was the 80s. I thought it was really cool. I was wearing like a jean jacket. It's probably cool again, or it has been throughout time. I don't think I fit in that jacket anymore, but like a fat man in a little coat. But I was wearing a jean jacket, and it had red and white stars on it. I was going through the customs line there for the first time, and I got pulled out of that line by the communist government. Those stars, the red and white stars, the blue jean jacket, that represented America. That was freedom. You can't have any of that. Why are you wearing it? You better take it off now. I was 5 or 6 years old, and it made an impression on me that I remembered it to this day. I don't have too many other stories from that age, right? None of us probably do. But that struck me. People ask, they go, Don, you're the son of a billionaire from New York City, you went to Ivy League school, why are you a conservative? How can you possibly be, given sort of, the brainwashed environment in which you live? And I tell that story. Because I've lived it. And I always say, it's sort of interesting. Why is it that, you have these mainstream candidates, all these people in academia, all these kids on these college campuses, espousing the great virtues of socialism and communism, it's wonderful. How come you don't have anyone from communist Czechoslovakia? How come you don't have anyone from China that's more relevant these days? How come none of those people are here saying, no, bring that shit here, it's awesome. Hey, don't take my word for it. The Democrats have plenty of crazy people representing them. Just turn on the debates. Yep. You would think that if these systems were so wonderful, there'd be at least one. Can you name one? How about Venezuela? Let's bring it a little closer to home. Yeah. Is there one person from Venezuela living in the United States who will say, we should bring socialism here? Not even a little bit. It doesn't exist. And yet, it's becoming mainstream thought. So that's the problem that we're faced with here, guys. We've never had a greater divergence between right and left. In 2016, when my father said, what do you have to lose? Yeah, honestly, nothing. Right? Both sides failed everyone. They tell you what they want to hear. No one really does anything. Well, my father's done a lot. Yeah. He's gotten things done, and more importantly, he's gotten things done that don't just necessarily follow the Republican dogma. Right? What about prison reform? Dan Jones, I'll give him credit. He mentioned it once or twice, and then he runs and starts screaming about something else. That's okay. But, not exactly a Republican base issue. Why'd he do it? Because it's the right thing to do. Opportunity zones. Same thing. It's not helping a lot of the Republican base, but it's the right thing to do to give those inner cities a chance to thrive, to create some tax revenue, to build up those schools, to let those kids get an education. Hopefully they can live that American dream we all want for ourselves and every citizen of this country. What about more recently? What about more recently? Pulling troops out of the endless wars. When's the right time to get out? Oh, these are people that have been fighting, some cases for between 75 and 100 years, sometimes thousands of years. It's not stopping. We're just not putting our guys in harm's way forever. He campaigned on it, and like so many other things he campaigned on, unlike most politicians, on both sides, by the way, he actually delivers on his promises. That's a couple weeks ago, even Trevor Noah was like, yeah, I don't necessarily agree with him, but he's actually doing the things you elected him to do. But more importantly, and perhaps the bigger point, think about how crazy it is that we live in a time where it's unusual, where people are shocked that a politician would actually do the things he said he was going to do. Sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, right? I wake up, I'm like, man, he got elected to do those things and you're complaining about it, right? Kimberly likes when I do this one. North Korea. I love watching North Korea, right? You see the pundits, right? Now, they call themselves experts. Let me caveat this. I will continue to call them experts because that's how they identify, and I don't want to insult them. But I will say, it is hard, for me at least, to believe that someone is an expert when they have not been right in decades. You know, so I watch the pundits. Oh my God! Donald Trump, he's doing it all wrong in North Korea. I go, okay, this is interesting, I'll listen. Unlike the left, because again, there's nothing less tolerant than a leftist preaching tolerance. I remember this, but I will listen. We saw that last night at UF. Every time I get it straight. I say, okay. She may still be screaming. She doesn't even know we left. I don't know, but she's not speaking much today after that. The second she stops, she will probably not be able to talk for 2 weeks. So, I'm watching. Okay, I'll listen. What do you know about North Korea? And I know Donald Trump is all wrong, because I've been leading U.S. policy in North Korea for 40 years. Wow. 40 years. Now, this is your life's work, right? 40 years, it's safe to say it's pretty much your life's work. I go, it's your life's work? Have you ever actually met with the other guy? No. Your whole life's work is a failure. I went out here. For 40 years, you've been implementing the same policy that has done absolutely nothing. You've achieved absolutely nothing. Einstein's definition of insanity. You know, the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. I'm sitting there usually with my daughter, Chloe. It's a Sunday, watching some of those weekend shows, listening to the experts, in name only. I say, Chloe, you know that you are more qualified than this individual. Oh, no, she is. Now, no. Oh, I see. No, you think I'm going somewhere else with this. Chloe, unlike what I see on Twitter these days, she just turned 5. But she is not one of these woke 5-year-olds. You know, you see it all. So, my 2.5-year-old just said, Dad, I really fear the nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula. I'm like, you know, they're trying to use their kid to try to make a point, and it's like, no one believes that your kid's talking about nuclear proliferation in the Korean Peninsula. I promise you. Chloe has no idea what the hell I'm talking about. The difference is, she has yet to do anything in North Korea, so at least her batting average is kind of perfect. This clown has been striking out for 40 years, and we're supposed to listen to him. Maybe we do something different. So we have. Yes. And now we have dialogue. Okay? We did the same. We moved the embassy to Jerusalem. We did it, right? Bush, Clinton, other Bush. Him too. Obama. They all said they were going to do it. Why didn't they do it? They all promised it. They all said it. It was de facto U.S. law. It passed the United States Senate 99-0 at one point. Media. It's going to be the start of World War III. Billions, not millions, billions of people were going to die if this happened. Wow, that's, you would think our government has been set up pretty well. There are checks and balances. You would think that something that would be the start of World War III and the death of billions of people would not pass the United States Senate 99-0. What do I know? I don't know. So, unlike the guys who basically didn't have we can say it, it's okay. They'll kill me in the press one way or the other. By the way, I can come up here and endorse Joe Biden and they'd still kill me, so it doesn't matter, right? You had someone that actually had the resolve, the guts, and more importantly, the rest of the world saw it. And they watched America take its rightful place as the leader of the free world once again. Pretty good crowd. This is slightly different than University of Florida last night. Which is okay. Life's too short not to have fun, and most of these stiffs, it's like, man, they can't even out-woke themselves on the other side, right? This is nuts. Since I brought them up, should we do Joe Biden? Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe. I've been watching Joe Biden. Joe Biden started off this campaign under the auspices of government has failed you. By the way, I'm actually with him on this one. The only problem is, Joe, you've been in big government for 50 years. Now you decide to do something about it? Now's the time to change? Where were you for all those decades in the Senate? Where were you on all these issues for 8 years as vice president? I guess you were too busy helping your son get board seats for Some of you who've heard me speak before have probably heard me talking about the Ukraine and the BS that's been going on there. Amazingly, no one in the media discussed it until they could magically somehow try to make it about Donald Trump and not Joe Biden. I mean, you know, you can do that when you take out 540 words. Oh, 500, that's like 7 minutes ago in this talk, okay? Just take that all out. We can pretend that this is about Trump. Now I get to hear it. No, it's wonderful. I love this news. Now I hear in the press, apparently, family is off limits. Shit! It would have been nice to have family off limits 3 years ago as they're trying to throw me in jail for taking an unsolicited phone call. Now it's off limits. Wow. Love you. Thank you. I love you guys. I always say, what do you think would happen? Even assuming family was off limits. If Donald Trump Jr. flew on Air Force One with his father to China and came back in 5 days with $1.5 billion from the government. I said better yet. What do you think would happen if Donald Trump Jr. came back with $1.5? Screw the billion. $1.5 would be enough. It would actually be very good. We would solve our fake news media problem because their heads would freaking explode. They'd all be gone. There'd be no fake news left. But Hunter Biden? Journeyman
Where's
investor.
Hunter? Where's Hunter? Where's Hunter?
I'll get to that. That's it. My speech. I'm building here. Work with me, folks. What are you, students at UF? I'm building. We were with a very large investor. Some of you guys I told the story to in a small group earlier. I probably won't mention his name, but you were in the room, man. You can vouch. This is someone you know, right? This is a really, really successful billionaire. I go, X. How long did it take you, with a 30-year track record of major successes, billion-dollar corporations bought and sold over 30 years, how long did it take you to get into China? Well done, it took me 9.5 years. Interesting. I go, what do you think the odds of someone with zero track record, someone who's been thrown out of the Navy for doing coke, someone who turned in a rental car with crack pipes in it, someone who's in the process of hiding from a process server because apparently he got a girl pregnant, whatever, and isn't willing to pay the child support. How do you think that guy would do negotiating with the Chinese government? You think that he would get $1.5 billion in 5 days? He looked at me like I was an idiot. Like, you know, he probably didn't know where I was going, but he said the answer is it's zero. He goes, unless, of course, they were buying you. Which is, of course, exactly what they were doing. Right? What do you think are the odds that the media would have no issue if Donald Trump Jr. was taking that $83,000 a month to sit on a corrupt Ukrainian energy while your father's got out there saying, I'm in charge of Ukraine? Oh yeah, that's totally legit. They'd give me the pass, right? If that's the case, media, since you're willing to give us the pass, please someone find me that job. It would be so much easier than screaming at students on college campuses, right? It would be so much easier to have a no-show job for a business I know nothing about in a language I don't speak. Everyone should get 83. This is like Andrew Yang's plan, right? Give me $83,000 a month. It's wonderful. Where does it come from? Nowhere. It's magic. We're all Santa Claus. You know, I remember going through my crap. There was cameras parked in front of Kim's apartment. Yeah. She never had a bad story written about her once until she started dating me. Then all of a sudden she's like the devil. She was one of the few conservatives that actually sort of was able to breach both sides without getting totally killed, and I ruined it for you, baby. I'm so sorry. See, that's the price and the sacrifice that Kimberly is willing to make. My sacrifice is that I'm willing to travel the country with Kimberly. It is... Guys, that is my sacrifice, and it is a small price to pay for our freedom. I'm willing to do it. So the media camped out in front of my apartment for the witch hunt hoax. No one's heard from Hunter Biden in like a year. No one's even trying to find him.
Now?
They don't want to know the answers.
Where's Hunter?
Where is he?
Where's Hunter?
I think my father got it right when he said last night the only thing Joe Biden was good at was kissing Obama's ass. That, my friends, is not fake news. Again, you know, I just want to thank all of you again for being here today. When I see the familiar faces that I've gotten to know, you know, in this sort of incredible voyage, you know, being part of something incredible, being part of this great American political movement. When you see, you know, groups like this being able to assemble and get together to fight for what they believe in. When you look at Minnesota, blue Minnesota last night, and you see tens of thousands of people showing up to support them. This doesn't happen in politics. You guys are a part of something special. You're witnessing something special, and they will try to silence you. And they will try to suppress you. But it goes to them. You guys are the brave ones, right? It's hard to be a conservative. It's harder to be a vocal conservative, and it's really hard to be a vocal Trump-supporting conservative. But if you have the guts to do it, you're going to win over those people, because there's a lot of them who've been marginalized, who are sick of it, who are sick of being called racist, who are sick of being called homophobic, who are sick of being called every ist. You know, the ists. Can't even keep track of them anymore. I don't even know what they mean, half of them. Because you could have a fundamental, economic, or otherwise disagreement. Those people are out there. They were out there in 2016. Not all of them vocal. It wasn't all like the people in this room. You guys had some real guts, okay, because you will be vocal. But I see it all the time, man. It's the, hey, good job, man. Keep it up. No, they're not going to go out there wearing MAGA hats. They're not high-fiving. They're doing, hey, thanks for what you're doing. And it's big. And those people aren't accounted in the polls. They aren't seen. We saw that in our exit polling on election day. Don, we got a problem. What do you mean? We got a problem. We're down by 12. I thought we were supposed to be up by 3. You know, whatever area it was. They go, no, we're down by 12 in the exit polls. I go, give me the breakdown. You go, this many people Hillary, this many people Trump, we're down by 12. They go, there's like 15% though that's still missing. We got to get to 100% here. I go, oh yeah, there's like 15% of the people that are saying, F you, we're not telling you who we voted for. I go, that's a Trump voter. I promise you, there was not one person in the FU vote category that was not on the Trump train. And the media has made it worse, and they've taken it farther. They've overplayed their hand time and time again. It's disgusting. It's un-American. But real Americans see it. We see it through the nonsense. We're sick of the hate. We're sick of the disdain. I saw it in Orlando. I'll finish with this story. Some of you guys were there. Orlando at the 2020 launch, right? No bullshit, right? There were guys that waited out there for 48 hours to get in thunderstorms. You were there. Wall jacket guy, stand up. But it's going up despite every obstacle they can put forth. And that's the most important thing. Trump is doing this despite unprecedented incoming. Despite an unprecedented level of obstruction. Imagine what he can do if even one Democrat, maybe two, came on board and said, you know what, let's get USMCA passed. Let's reverse these crappy trade deals. Let's work on infrastructure. They're too busy trying to resist. Right? Because the Democrats hate Trump much more than they love America. And they want to resist Trump much more than they want to work for their constituency and for Americans. But it's going on, and we saw it. And I watched. This was an incredible crowd. There were thunderstorms, lightning. Oh, it was brutal. I got out there, I did like 2 radio interviews. I go, enough! I want AC. I'm spoiled. I get to see him more than you guys, okay? Not one person left. 47,000 people for an arena that can only hold 25. So basically half the audience, thousands of people knew they weren't even going to get in, but they wanted to be there just to listen on the loudspeakers outside. This was shortly after the Mueller decision and all of that nonsense. I go, you know what, guys? That wasn't a win for me, who was the number 2 target. That wasn't a win for my father. You remember. Mr. Mueller, have you actually even read the Mueller report? No. I don't believe the Mueller report was part of my purview. I go, your name's on it, buddy. You don't know where it started? This is sort of magic? I mean, $40 million in 2 years, and you have no idea how it started. I mean, that's when this guy realized that he was totally played by the other side. 47,000 people stood in the rain for 2 days. And later on that night, I thought it was beautiful. It was actually incredible to see. I've never seen anything like it. And I've seen some pretty special stuff over the last few years. And I got on, and I went after, spoke, introduced my father and the VP, and on the flight home, I'm watching it on TV and the press. Ugh. Did you see those people? Ugh. Ugh. They were wearing flip-flops. That must be their formal attire. That's their version of black tie. Ha 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 ha. We're so special. You guys know what I'm talking about. The level of hatred from the fake news media, the level of disdain for hardworking people who just want to live a good life, who just want their kids to experience something special, the America that we all know and love. That's why I do this, guys. I could be at home, doing deals, doing whatever it is, much more limited because we were able to walk away from all of that. Unlike the Bidens, we were international business people before we got into politics. I think I'm way over my time. Do you guys care?
No!
Democracy rules. I mean, you know. Unlike the Bidens, we actually did international business for decades prior to politics. And we said we weren't going to do new deals. Started now. We had deals that have been in the works since 2004. I mean, we have contractual obligations. We got to finish those out. But the media doesn't talk about that. They don't say we haven't done a new international deal since my father won the presidency. They don't talk about us turning away probably hundreds of millions in new deals that we could legally do, but we just don't even want the perception of a problem. Right? Hunter Biden was in the business before politics. He certainly didn't do any international business until his father was in a position of control and power. Minor details. That's all the stuff that's left on the cutting room floor. But honestly, for me, as the father of 5 young kids, and I know how that happens now. I do a lot more public speaking now. Get Kimberly to get me a cable package. I know how that happens now. I was a little sleepy today. Maybe I thought I was worried. I thought, Kimberly, I feel a little low energy before the speech. Now, I don't mean like low energy Jen. I mean like low energy for Trump standards, which is like about 2,000% above the average crazy individual, right? And it's a little different. But that's why I do this, guys. My father wasn't naive as to what was going to happen when he did this. And unlike the other side, he did not need this job. It was not his turn. Why? Because he made bad decisions for 50 years? It's his turn, like Joe Biden, like, oh, gotta give it to him now. Morons. But more importantly, he wasn't naive to what was going to happen. I talk about it in Triggered in the book, and I said, I tell the story about June 16, 2015, which was the last that was the day he announced he's running, right? He had 0% then, he carried about 0% till election day, and then he had a blowout. But we get in that elevator as a family, and he just looked me in the eyes, and he goes, now we find out who our real friends are.
Yeah. Amen to that.
And man,
Amen to that.
Man, was that ever accurate? But more importantly, beyond the accuracy of the statement, it shows he also had a fundamental understanding of humankind, of mankind, of people. But it also shows he didn't do it thinking that this was going to be a nice, cush thing. He did it knowing it was going to be brutal, knowing it was going to be vicious, knowing that people he'd known for decades would turn on him in a second to show how woke they are, show how incredibly amazing they are. Because again, remember, there's no consequence for being a leftist. Can't say that about our side. But that's the most important statement about the man. To know that it would be brutal, to know that your friends would turn on you, and to do it anyway. This time they actually think we can win. Imagine the bullshit campaign they're going to run when they actually think he can win, as opposed to, of course he's going to win. I don't know a single person that would vote for Trump. Yeah, because you've never left a room of 3 editorial people on the board of the New York Times. Again, it's going to be rough. It's going to be vicious. And to finish off that story, it's funny, on election day, 2016, I woke up to 10,000 unread emails. Hey, buddy! We're with you all along. I love what you're saying. That's interesting. You haven't taken my call in like 18 months. I wonder what changed. But it goes to show you, and I still see that even to this day. Guys are like, hey man, I love what you guys said about this. I love what your father's doing with this. And then you see what they're posting on Facebook. It's exactly the opposite, because they're trying to be cool. They're trying to pick up the woke chick or whatever it is, get invited to the cool person party. So it's a brutal business, and it's a lot harder when you're on our side. But it's so awesome to me to be able to see a room like this with enthusiastic people, people who are willing to put themselves out there. And these are the people I know They're going to call people. They're going to get out. They're going to go knock on doors. They're going to show that enthusiasm. They're going to get people to turn up. They're going to talk. It's facts. Because facts are scary to the other side. It's why they don't talk about too many factual things. They talk about 9,722 genders. Facts, not so much. Not so much. So it's awesome to be in this fight with you. It's an honor to be here today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the incredible response. When the media